The traditional Kunama clans and their territories. The Kunama were not a monolithic group. They were composed of multiple clans with unique roles in society. Before nomadic groups arrived, Kunama clans were spread across the western lowlands of Eritrea and parts of northern Ethiopia. Their land extended along the Gash and Sedit rivers, modern-day Tekeze River. Kunama Tika, one of the more dominant clans known for agriculture. Kunama Barka lived closer to the Sudanese border, engaged in both farming and trade. Kunama Imasa specialized in fishing and hunting along the rivers. Kunama Sokodasa lived in regions closer to settled communities, making them more vulnerable to assimilation. Kunama Marda inhabited forested regions, possibly better shielded from nomadic encroachments.
Which Kunama clans were affected first by nomads? A. The first wave, Cushitic migration, 3000 BCE, 1000 BCE. Early Cushitic-speaking pastoralists, ancestors of modern Beja, Afar, and Oromo, began migrating southward from northeast Africa and the Nile Valley. The Kunama Barka and Kunama Tika were affected first because they occupied fertile lands near the Gash and Sedit rivers, which were prime targets for pastoralists seeking grazing lands. The Kunama Sokodasa and Kunama Tika were again affected as the Oromo displaced or assimilated groups in their path. Many Kunama villages were abandoned and survivors moved westward toward Sudan. E. The 19th to 20th century, Imperial Ethiopia and Colonial Eritrea. Menelik II's conquests, late 1800s, saw further land losses for the Kunama Tika and Kunama Sokodasa, as Ethiopian expansion pushed Amhara and Tigrinya settlers into traditional Kunama lands. Italian colonial rule, 1890 to 1941, introduced new settlers, worsening the land dispossession of the Kunama. 3. Which clans were the most affected? Kunama Barka, due to proximity to Beja expansion and early conflicts over trade routes. Kunama Tika, displaced by Aksumite settlers and later Oromo migrations. Kunama Sokodasa, assimilated or pushed out by Aksumites, Amhara, and Tigrinya settlers.
Which clans survived with fewer disruptions? Kunama Marda. Their forest-based lifestyle provided some protection from invaders. Kunama Imasa. Their fishing economy made them less dependent on farmlands that nomads sought. 5. Modern legacy. Today, many Kunama live as refugees in Ethiopia and Sudan, displaced by conflicts over land and political marginalization. Land disputes with Tigrinya and Amhara settlers continue to threaten the Kunama's traditional way of life. Conclusion. The Kunama Barka, Tika, and Sokodasa were the first clans to lose land and power due to nomadic migration, Aksumite expansion, and later Ethiopian imperial policies. However, isolated groups like the Kunama Marda and Imasa managed to retain more of their culture and land. The Kunama's history is one of resilience, displacement, and adaptation in the face of centuries of external pressures.